day. Now let's bring everybody up online. Go live on LinkedIn. Excellent. There we are. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. This is fantastic. Well, this is an exciting time of the year. In my opinion, I absolutely love this time of the year. And that may be a really strange statement for you to hear. And the only reason I say that is that this time of the year, we go through that predicament of what will the new year hold for us. Now we're already 7 days into the month. We're now at the 8th of the month. So 1 week of 2025 has now completed. And if you haven't sold 2 automobiles in this week, well, that just means that you've got to sell either 2 more next week or 1 next week extra and 1 extra the 3rd week. And don't leave it all to the very end of the month. That is what I find most automobile salespeople struggle with, is instead of planning their days, months, weeks, quarters, and years, they wait till the end of the month like every other automobile dealership does, every other automobile manufacturer does, every average ordinary automobile trainer teaches us to do, including managers and owners. If you're a manager and owner, don't wait to the end of the month to make your month and hit your targets, because it's just too much of a strain, too much of a stress on that very short period of time. You can accomplish this in a short period of time. For instance, this time of the year, especially when I was in your shoes and I was looking at selling automobiles and how many I could sell in order to live the life that I wanted to live. And that was to be, my dream was to become an automobile dealer, a new car franchise owner. Therefore, I need to amass a significant amount of money and capital in order to be able to buy in, let alone buy the whole entire store out, and then have working capital to be able to operate the business on a daily basis. And that operating capital limit, that daily working capital limit, must remain within a certain limit and an amount of money in the bank. For those of you that would like to own a dealership one day, happy to share all those details with you. But the manufacturer will come along and say, do not let that working capital drop below this particular threshold. And that can be a real stress and a strain on anyone. And the bottom line is, we sell automobiles. Yes, the service department is very important. The parts department, the fixed operations, in other words, are crucial to our business success. And I'm not talking to dealer principals here. I'm talking to everybody in the room. Automobile sales is really where we're going to make our mark. We need to keep putting new automobiles out on the roadway, because that creates trade-ins, which creates pre-owned automobiles, which gets people into our brands before they think they can afford it, so that we can move them up and move them forward into new automobiles, and then move them up those price range as they ascend their own careers and their own career aspirations on their ladder to earning more money, if in fact that is what they want to do. But for those of you that want to make this a fantastic career, it's really, really easy to do so. Because at the end of the day, when we chunk down, in fact, what we're trying to accomplish, it's simple and it's easy. For instance, if you want to set out for yourself a goal to sell this year 100 automobiles, 100 automobiles is only less than 9 per month. When I did this for myself, really stepped back and had a look at how my planning, how my objectives, how my goal setting would work, I really needed to make it I needed to make it achievable in order for me to believe that it was possible. And when we look at something as lofty as 100 automobiles, now this is nowhere close to my friend Glenn, who sells over 600 automobiles a year, and he is just a Chevrolet automobile salesperson. He's not related to the owner. He doesn't own the dealership. His family was not in the business, albeit the majority of his sales, like we're talking 90% plus of his sales, are fleet-oriented business sales. But here's a guy that sells way over 100 automobiles that does this exact same exercise that you're doing here. For instance, if we were to 10 times each one of these objectives and you were to go to 1,000 automobiles, you'd need to sell 90, just under 90 vehicles per month. Now, here's where goal setting and setting an objective for yourself and planning for the future is where everybody starts to go sideways, because they recognize that those numbers are absolutely astronomical. And really, are they? Is it your goals? that are your problem, because we probably should have gone through it by this point of the year, some kind of a planning exercise that your general manager, your general sales manager, or your dealer principal has asked you to do, like how many vehicles that they think you're going to sell next year, or maybe they furnished you with their expectations of how many vehicles that you should sell throughout the year. And as we well know, as the year goes on throughout the calendar, starting here at January, down here at June, and finishing off at Christmas or the holiday season, it is not the same every single month. Our sales, if this were a chart of the months, and these are the sales at the side, we're going to have kind of a chart like this as we go along, and that's to be expected. The point is that I want to make is that when we chunk down 100 vehicles per year into less than 9 vehicles per month to make it easy and achievable, you could set out for yourself in January, only 8 sales are going to be possible. Now, we've had to make up that one in one other month. For instance, if you took off time over here in July for summer holidays, or August or September, at the tail end of the third quarter of the year, pardon me, then you will possibly lose 1 week or 2 weeks to holidays, therefore selling 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, making up for the deficit in 1 month. In another month has to be compensated. We have to give some thought to how that is going to work. And in our manifesto program, and I'm happy to share these details with you, we come up with a 90-day, we create a 90-day statistical average of your sales. It's your calculation, and I'm happy to go through that with you. I'll link a comment below where you can book a call with me. I can take you through the 90-day statistical average right now and tell you exactly what you're selling in the past quarter of the year, which will determine the next 3 months, probably, of how many you're going to sell. And that may be below your own expectation of only 9 a month in order for you to be able to hit 100%. And again, when I say less than 9, remember 9 times 12 would be 108. 8 times 12 would be 96. So somewhere you're going to sell on average between 8 and 9 per month to hit 100 units for 2025. And this is important because, albeit the math is simple and straightforward, but when you really look at it on the grand scale, right? When we listen to the politicians speak, when we listen to great leaders speak, and we listen to those individuals of monetary policy or investment bankers, investment counselors this time of the year, that whole advertising plan is going to start ramping up for RESP or RRSP, 401k, topping up and maximizing your investment portfolio and strategy as we meet the fiscal year end of income, where every country requires that we now report for that magic threatening date of April 1st, when taxes come due. We need to contribute at least 1 month before that. So it's generally the end of February. And what drew my attention to this was an equation that I heard, a story long ago. And let me share it with you as well. Do you know, when it comes to planning and goal setting, a goal without a dream is nothing more than a goal without a plan is nothing more than a dream. But the important part is, as prefaced in the title of this session, and the reason that I came up with this live, is that the most important part of establishing our goals is the dreaming part. So when we dream out, when we look out in front of ourselves and see where we're going to be in 12 months' time, that's why I love this time of the year, because I've done my planning around the latter portion, September, the tail end of the third quarter of the year, but I cannot really set my goals and objectives until my year end is completed, which is December 31st. Now, my company year end is not at that time, but for me personally, my calendar year end is December 31st. I love to work on that. At the very end, that is what happens. And so when we look at planning out the year, We know full well that January is going to be a tough time. February is going to probably be even worse. And then March, there starts to be a little bit of a shining light. The pipeline starts to fill up. Customers start wandering, and the days get longer. The days are warmer. The snow starts melting away in the northern 48 states and in Canada. And quite frankly, customers come out of the woodwork and they start thinking about the summertime trips and driving around that they want to do. And that is the reason why the advertising machine kicks in at that point in time. So right now, if you're struggling to try and figure out how you're going to make ends meet, how you're just going to pay your bills, it's not as daunting as you think, because it's probably the planning that you do that is holding you back. For instance, if I were to ask you, what is 1 million seconds? What does 1 million seconds represent? How many days? How many hours? How many weeks? Does anybody know what 1 million seconds represents? And this is so pivotal and crucial to all of the planning that we do, all of our thinking on a daily basis, because we are 1 week now into 2025. There are only 51 weeks left from today going forward in order for you to accomplish the dreams of whatever that be. Could it be $100,000? It could be 100 units, whatever the case is. 1 million seconds. Let's break it down. If we were to divide that by 60 seconds, that would give us minutes. And in minutes, we're probably talking about 16,666 minutes. If we were to divide those by 60 minutes into hours, we're probably talking 2,700 hours. And if we were to divide the 2,700 hours by 24 hours in a day, you're looking at just under 12 days. 12 days of the month. I want to make sure that my math is absolutely accurate on that. I was preparing myself extensively for this and want to make sure that I have that really accurate and correct, because I think a number of you are going to thoroughly enjoy that. 1666 and 2777. Oh, so it's not 2,700. It's 277 hours divided by 24 gives us 12 days, less than 12 days, 11 point something days. Now, isn't that incredible how when we relate this to investment bankers, counselors, politicians, and how they banter about and throw about, and maybe you've heard this on the internet, and watching free training and try to get free training, try to figure out how to sell 10, 20, 30 cars per month with someone who espouses to be a 7-figure income earner, that they sold a whole ton of cars. They're in 8 figures and 9 figures now and all the rest of it. That is so difficult to achieve, because just in the number of seconds that is accomplished in the day, look at this, 1 million seconds. This is how ridiculous society has become. Throwing around that number of 1 million equals 12 days. Just to put it in perspective for you, what were you doing 12 days ago? 12 days ago, think back 12 days what you were doing. You probably were back at work the first day after the holidays, Christmas Day and Boxing Day, because this was the day right after Boxing Day. This is the 27th. From right now today, going back 12 days. Isn't that interesting? And we make it worse. And this is where goals and planning starts to fall apart, because I hear this from salespeople a lot. You know what, Bill, when I plan out something, it doesn't work. When I set goals, they just don't seem to materialize. And that is because you're probably waiting for traffic that is flowing in through the showroom doors. Those people, that traffic is very intentional about buying. That makes them low-hanging fruit, but they have been significantly influenced by some other motivating factor. It's probably that their car won't start, they've been involved in an accident, they just recognize that they need to replace their automobile. Something has changed, and advertising has piqued their interest and drawn them in. And consequently, that advertising needs to have a magnificent hook. It has to tell a perfect story. And consequently, the offer has to be so amazing that it's irresistible. And this is the reason why we get frustrated this time of the year as automobile salespeople, managers, and owners, because the customers coming in are freaks and weirdos. And that is simply not the truth. How we handle them is the folly that we have. And this is the reason why we don't close at 1 and 3. You don't close at 1 and 2. You close at 1 and 5, worse than that, 1 and 8 and 1 and 10. And I'm here to tell you that you don't need to do that. When we set an objective for ourselves of 8 vehicles per month or floating up towards 10 per month, chunk it down, becomes really easy to do so. Because here's the thing, when we banter around these statistics just as loose, top of mind, and the reason why I say that is most average, ordinary automobile salespeople walk around every single year saying, I want to sell 10 a month. I need to sell 10 a month. How many times have you caught yourself more than halfway through the month, like we're talking the 22nd of the month, saying, I must sell 10 cars in the next 6 days? It's the 20th of the month. Do the math. There's 10 days, maybe 11 days left in the month. If it's February, there's even less than that. But you need to sell 10 in the next 10 days. There isn't 10 days. If you have your day off, if there's a day of training that you need to attend, if there is a statutory holiday, if the Sundays alone, if you are not open on Sundays, you can't work the 10 days. You actually can't work the 10 days. And therefore, you need to sell 10 within the time frame that you have, which could be 6 or 7 days. And this is the reason why average, ordinary automobile salespeople say planning doesn't work for me. If we stop just spewing these figures out and start planning how we're going to accomplish these numbers, just like politicians throw around the terms millions of dollars, billions of dollars, and now trillions of dollars with respect to deficits, as some teachers, trainers, and authors banter around and spew information about how much money they have made in millions and 8 figures and so on. When you look at this simple math equation of seconds, I really want to drive home the message to you how important planning and chunking down your objectives and goals are. Because if we were to take this number and add 1,000 to the number, now we're talking about billions. How long is 1,000 billion seconds? Now, not to go through the math anymore because we really don't have the time to do so in this short period that I have with you. I would simply give you the answer, which is nice and easy, and that is less than 32 years. Not 32 days, not 32 months, 32 years. When we are not respective of the actual number that we're calculating, we create demoralizing and demeaning goals, which diminishes our activity and leads us to believe that all I need to do is sit and wait for the up bus to stop and drop off a load of hungry, anxious shoppers, and I'm good with that. And you're right. That's not a bad plan, provided you have that much traffic flowing into your showroom doors. But what I'm hearing from everybody right now is we don't have that kind of traffic. It's a traditional winter. It's much colder. Obviously, the nights are longer, the days are shorter, the weather is cold, people don't want to come out, but it's compounded with a new president coming on board here in the United States, as well as in the Canadian economy. Their parliament has been suspended. Their prime minister is resigning. There is going to clearly be an election for Canada in the springtime, tail end of Q1, probably the very beginning of Q2, which creates an enormous amount of consumer uncertainty. So will we get the shopper driving along thinking to themselves, oh, there's a beautiful looking automobile, I may as well go in and talk to you about it? No, we're not going to get those shoppers. We're going to get the individual that says, I better wait and see what is going to happen. If we are going to go into a recession because of monetary policy, government policy, because of tariffs imposed on Canada and vice versa, then we need to think about the amount of money that we've got and stretch dollar as far as we can possibly go. But that doesn't mean that anybody would want to trade their automobile in or upgrade to a newer year, make, model, color for shiny, faster, newer, the latest and greatest technology, all protected by a factory warranty or a pre-owned warranty if they knew how affordably they could step into that next automobile. And that's what I'm going to show you in seconds here. What I want to demonstrate is that when we don't plan out for what our coming year is going to be, then there's no possible way for us to create predictable, consistent sales and income for ourselves. When we look at adding 1,000, talking about billions as though it's just banter talk and throwing around those numbers, recognizing 32 years ago, what were you doing 32 years ago? I'll tell you what I was doing. I was selling Pontiacs, a brand that does not exist in the marketplace anymore at all. In fact, used Pontiacs are becoming antiques, and really the ones that are most desirable, the Firebird, is diminishing and disappearing faster than you could possibly dream of. And if you think to yourself, and you ask the same questions I do, what happens to those thousands and millions of cars that we put on the roadway that now are not in recirculation, that are not on Marketplace, on Craigslist, on Kijiji, on AutoTrader, and Car Gurus, that they just simply disappear into the night? Well, they probably become pop cans and recycled material of something else. 32 years ago, what were you doing? I was at the beginning of my career. I always wanted to be an automobile dealer, but that was a distant dream. All I was worried about was paying my rent. All I was worried about was putting food on the table. All I was worried about was where my friends and I were going to go next Friday night and Saturday night, and how I was going to hit my objectives and targets. And that's when I struggled. And that's how I developed this system. And that is to help you overcome the bad mistakes that I made when not planning how to just sell 8, 9, 10, 12 vehicles per month. Here's the thing: with predictable consistency, that's when life really gets fantastic for you. That's when you can buy the house of your dream. That's when you can put a pool in the backyard. That's when you can buy a boat. Hey, I still do this stuff to this day. I have my eye on 3 boats right now, and I've got 4 boats in our boat house. I don't definitely need another boat, but that is what drives me. That is what enthuses me. That's what creates interest. I'm not saying for sure that I'm going to do that, but generally when I get thinking, talking, and speaking to a broker or a manufacturer about a boat, it does come together. The point is, I want you to really get that I spent way too much time hoping, and as Elon Musk eloquently said in one of his podcasts, the biggest mistake of human race is the wishful thinking. I just wished I could get of 10 sales closing at a 1 in 5 ratio. I wish 50 people would come in and just act like a good buyer. And that is not happening in January, February, March. And this is the reason why we're here right now. And I want to help you get through that today. And if you want to speak directly to me, book a call below, click on the link. 15 minutes could really change your life. So what happens? Oh, by the way, what do you think would happen at a trillion? How many seconds? What year would we be in at a trillion? Now, at a trillion, remember, we have to add another 1,000 to a billion in order to hit a trillion. I mean, at that point, as you can imagine, doing the math, not only are we going to double this figure, but we're going to exponentially raise this figure by 3. We're going to go back in a time when humans didn't even walk the earth. This is how ridiculous these numbers are. And this is the significant importance that I really want you to capture, and embrace, that in order for you to accomplish what you want to, selling automobiles in the dealership, you really got to take your numbers seriously. And so the first step that I would suggest you do is go back to December, November, October, and have a look at how many people, prospects, came in. And this way, you probably had more here. You probably were flatlined, and you probably had less here in each one of these months. And this will give you a 90-day statistical. A 90-day will tell you, when you average these all up and you add them together and you wind up at 8, you have just calculated for yourself a 90-day statistical average that, statistically speaking, your region, your brand, your dealership, your ability is going to be at 8 based on the last 90 days. Now our goal setting activity isn't just dreamland. Our goal isn't just like, well, you know what? I want to sell 15 units per month. which would be 174, right? Annualize. Well, how am I going to accomplish that? If I'm only selling 8 statistically in the last 90 days, what are you doing differently in order to hit the 15? And the reality is, will you do 15 in January, February, and March? If you're statistically only selling, let's say you're selling 12, what are you going to do differently? How are you going to accomplish that? You can leverage the power of artificial intelligence to write email sequences that maintain communication with customers for 6 days, 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years. That's the easiest and fastest way for you to bring people back that you've already earned the know, like, and trust badge of honor with. That's magnificent and wonderful. But better than that, if you were to turn from the 15 and set that as an overarching goal for yourself and say, okay, at 15 units, where are those 15 car sales going to come from for myself? And one of those car sales may come from phone in, right? One might. One could come from your own network. These are your friends and family. If somebody's having difficulty with their automobile, if it's not starting, if they should have an all-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and now it's a traditional snowy winter wherever they live, and they've always had a two-wheel drive vehicle, and it's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, it's time for them to move onwards. Anybody will buy a new vehicle if they knew how affordable it was. That doesn't necessarily mean the same payment as what they have, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the payment must be less than what they have. If their income has gone up, if they have been shopping, as Google says, for the last 6 months, and they see the price of automobiles, and now they're accustomed to a $250, $300, $350, $650 biweekly payment, and your product fits into what they are accustomed to seeing, and resign themselves to the fact that the $150 biweekly payment is gone, never going to come back again. It was wonderful when they had it, but if they think back to the time when they purchased that automobile, even at $150 biweekly, it was probably on the cusp, on the edge of being barely affordable. And that is the reason why we went to bi-weekly. We went away from monthly. It's the reason why we went to monthly back when Henry Ford was producing the Model T, went away from the gross price of an automobile to a monthly payment on the automobile. We've always compared ourselves to that. That's how we build automobiles to this day. People go into the white room, do the thinking and dreaming of building the next automobile, and then decide how much it will sell for based on the marketplace that it will go to. And they know who those people are, how much income they make, how many income earners there are in the family, how many people they have to shuttle around. So your network, you may sell one to. So we have one here. We've got one at phone in. We may sell 3 to walk-in customers, right? Now, we've sold of our 15 automobiles, 1, 4, 5. We've got 10 more to go. If we sell another, let's say, 3 to an opportunity, we sell another 3 to an opportunity, there is 6, and we sell now another 2 to another opportunity. So this one might be to lease return. This one might be to service department upgrades. And this one might be to your existing portfolio referring you. I just gave a reference to one of my students in the six-figure methodology program, the Harvey method, the six-figure manifesto, and they sent me a $200 referral check. And thank you very much to Jen. Really appreciate that. Jen is one of our high performers. You can watch her on YouTube, her podcast, young lady coming into a man's world, a bunch of stodgy old salespeople set in their ways, really hoping that she would sink rather than swim. And then she just decimated them within 12 months. But she came to us struggling, miserably struggling, very upset that she didn't think she was going to be able to make this. She was a referral to me from somebody else. And lo and behold, she's a top performer. And I gave her a referral to someone else who bought a pickup truck, a Denali pickup truck, a 6-figure sale. And she was so appreciative of that. I'll do the very same for you. It really depends on region. It doesn't depend on the individual. I'm just packaging people up with customers who will be able to service their vehicle there. So what do we have now? We've got 3, 6, 8. We've got to come up with 2 more sales. And here you may have orphans of the dealership. Maybe you get one sale from the orphan of the dealership. And as you start to sell more, the sales manager may bring you over a house deal. This is how easy it is to sell 15 automobiles in the worst month of the year, January, because of your plan. And I call this the mind map. And when we map out how we're going to go about getting 15 sales, we don't just simply say, my goal this month is to sell 15. That's perfectly fine. But a goal without a plan is nothing more than a dream. Here is your plan. And so now, in order for us to make this plan a reality, what do we need to do? If our closing ratio is 1 in 5, and you want to sell 15 automobiles, that means that you've got to speak to 5 times as many people. So that would be 25 and 75 prospects in your pipeline in order for you to be able to sell 15 automobiles. So now we look at our plan and we say to ourselves, well, orphans, how many orphans am I going to get? I'm probably only going to get one. How many referrals would I need to ask for in order to be able to get 2 sales? Now, if the closing ratio is 1 in 5, this means you need to do 5 presentations to get 1 sale. That doesn't mean you ask for 10 referrals. You need to figure out how many referrals that you're going to get right now, and that will determine the 2, because in order for you to get 2, you need to get 10 people to do a presentation with in order for you to get 2 sales. If you ask for only 10 referrals, albeit there's a good chance that you're going to get 2 to 5 of those materialize, but if you were to times that by 3, you exponentially increase your opportunity that referrals will actually pay out. Service department upgrades. Do you go to 3 cars and expect to sell all those 3 people? No, same sort of thing. You need to do 3 presentations to be able to get 1 sale. In order to do those 3 presentations, if you just go by simple straight math, you need to get 15 quotations in automobiles, create interest in order to bring those people over into the showroom. When we talk about lease returns, you need to get 3 sales from lease returns, which means you need to do 15 presentations, which means you should be talking to 20 to 50 people in order to get those 3. I hope you get the message. This is how the planning comes together. This is what average, ordinary automobile sales trainers don't talk about because they don't know. They don't have the foggiest clue. They're fantastic at telling you that they will teach you to sell 1 in 5 or 1 in 4. But here's the reality. When you refine this system and you start talking to 30 people, so 30, we're talking to 30 here. We're going to bring the 15 down here. We're going to bring this 15 down here. We're going to talk to phone-ins. How many phone-ins actually materialize and show up in the showroom? I'll bet you're going to have to get 20 of those in order for you to be able to sell 15. I'm not doing all the categories here, but if we added up 20, 50, 80 leads, that look at this. At those 80 leads, only the phone-ins and the walk-ins, right here, this 20, I'm going to put these 2 together. These 20 are the reason why you only sell 5 vehicles per month. Because standing at the showroom doors, waiting for the up bus to stop in, is only going to yield statistically 1 in 5 if you're a good closer. Exactly what every automobile sales trainer teaches out there. I teach it as well. I'm going to teach you how to close and negotiate extremely well through the 6-figure manifesto, our Harvey method system of selling, which includes a ton of talk tracks, which are perfectly aligned through adult methodology so that you don't even have to remember the talk track. It just flows off the tip of your tongue because it's natural. Will get you to 15 vehicles because this is traffic right here that you control. I hope you thoroughly, pardon me, I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this session today. And we do these every Wednesday, so be sure to join us every Wednesday. Set this time aside in your calendar. But if you really want to figure out how to do this, we have a calculator in order for you to really perfectly structure and orchestrate this so that it just happens on autopilot over and over again. We'll share with you how to do proper email sequencing. We'll share with you how to advertise organically on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok so you're constantly filling your pipeline. We'll teach you how to harvest those clients within the dealership that are ready to buy, but no one's reaching out to them, all of which will get you to that 15 car a month. Here's the best part: with predictable consistency. That is the secret to your success. If you can't make it predictable, there's no possible way for it to be consistent. There's no possible way for you to believe that you can make a six-figure income, let alone a very healthy five-figure income, doing what you love, loving what you do, creating a lifestyle that you are proud to own and live and have. This is so easy to do. Everybody wants an automobile. If you can sell automobiles, you can sell anything in this world. This is the second greatest financial decision that people make. So if you can convince 15 people a month to purchase automobiles from you, then you can grow that every single month and get to those 20s, 25s, and 30s with predictable consistency, because it's a system that works. It's not the fact that I'm giving you one tactic. These are a series of tactics rolled up into our one strategy of 3 phases and 9 steps to help you achieve the most you can possibly get this year. My name is Bill Harvey with the Auto Dealership Academy. This is the Auto Sales Academy on Facebook, the Auto Dealership Academy on YouTube, and the Auto Dealership Academy on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a wonderful day, a terrific week, and really make 2025 fantastic and terrific. If you haven't already done so, get to those 10 calls a day. Create your 10 hot list. 1 week. You've got 53 weeks of the year right now to be able to sell into 150, 170 units. And it is possible, but it's really difficult for yourself if you wait until the second quarter of the year to do that. Don't wait. Book a call with me. The link is in the comments below. And I look forward to seeing you again next week, where I'll share with you leveraging apps and technology where we can create those email sequences, leveraging command prompts with artificial intelligence of ChatGPT and Gemini. We can create videos, which builds your social proof, and then we can take it to an organic strategy on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok in order to create and expand your reach, being top of mind for anybody who's thinking about trading in for shiny, newer, faster, of the latest and greatest technology, protected by a warranty that is affordable. We'll talk to you again real soon. Bye-bye for now.